It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And good morning to the John Fredericks Radio Network. It's great to see everybody again. We were on just a little over an hour ago for half an hour with John Fredericks on his program, and now we are taking it over here. If you want to call in, our number is 615-649-8477, 615-649-8477. Well, let's get right to it. It's time for the Morning Rundown, brought to you by The Glock Store. The Glock Store, glockstore.com, located right here in Nashville, Tennessee, just a few miles from the airport. Here we go. Here is the Morning Rundown for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Number one, a deadly shooting at a Nashville public high school. Yesterday, the shooter, 17-year-old Solomon Henderson, and one victim are dead. Two are wounded at the Antioch High School. We'll have Tom Pappert here at the bottom of the hour, our lead reporter, to talk about that. Number two, also yesterday, another gun incident in another Metro Nashville public high school. A student was arrested at McGavock High School for having a gun. Can't do that. Number three, Day 4 of the Golden Age of America. So much to talk about from that, and we'll get to it. Number 4, lots of news from last night's Oval Office interview of Donald J. Trump, 47th President of the United States, by Sean Hannity. The JFK files are likely to be released. Changes at FEMA. And why didn't Joe Biden pardon himself? Number 5, ICE raids have begun in Boston and other cities. Number 6, 1,500 troops have been sent to the southern border. It's going to be, I think, 10,000 very soon. Number 7, cabinet nominee votes continue. Number 8, and by the way, if the Democrats don't play ball, they're going to keep them in session. As John Thune says, we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. Number 8, Penny Schwinn in big trouble. Yeah, the equity-loving, never-Trumper affiliated nominee to be Deputy Secretary of Education may serve President Trump best by withdrawing her nomination. We'll see how that works out. Number 9, and finally, there's a new poll from Donald Trump's pollster, Tony Fabrizio, which shows Marsha Blackburn with a huge lead if she chooses to run for governor here in Tennessee for 2026. Well, there you go. There is a morning rundown for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Now, this is when I tell you about my friends at The Glock Store, glockstore.com. I've got great news. One of the things that people love about The Glock Store is their recurring gun giveaway sweepstakes. Just since last October, 8 lucky people have won the factory stock Glock of their choice just for entering the sweepstakes. Well, now we're in sweepstakes number 9, the abominable sweepstakes. Say that fast 3 times. See if you can do it. The entry period started last Wednesday, January 15th, and will end this coming Wednesday, January 29th at midnight. Now, these short entry periods mean fewer entries, which means a better chance of you being a winner. You should enter right now. To find out how, just go to glockstore.com/TAS, as in the abominable sweepstakes, for complete entry instructions. No purchase is necessary, and there's even a way to be auto-entered multiple times. That's my friend Lenny McGill giving back to the Glock community by giving away Glocks. Yeah, that's a Glock Store thing, and we're sure proud to be sponsored by them. That's glockstore.com/TAS for your chance to win that factory stock Glock of your choice. Okay. Well, there we go. Now it's time. I want to go right to the Sean Hannity interview, which I thought was quite interesting. One little caveat there. Did you catch at the end where Trump was talking and wanted to keep talking? And Hannity, who I think had been told by the handlers you only have a certain amount of time, basically said, I'm running out of time, Mr. President. Can you hurry it up? And Donald Trump said, no, Sean. I'm the president. Remember that? I'm the president, your friend. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, and you're going to listen. I thought that was good. I mean, he was polite about it, but it was pretty good. All right, let's go. Trump won. Clip one, rather. Trump and Hannity from last night.
FEMA is getting in the way of everything, and the Democrats actually use FEMA not to help North Carolina.
It makes no sense.
So I'm stopping on Friday. I'm stopping in North Carolina, first stop, because those people were treated very badly by Democrats. And I'm stopping there. We're going to get that thing straightened out because they're still suffering from a hurricane from months ago. And then I'm going to go to California.
Yeah. What is the theme here of the Trump administration? It's common sense and the ability to execute and get things done, which is a dramatic contrast with the way the Democrats are. I mean, he's right about FEMA. I mean, the FEMA was there to get in the way and to stop providing service to all of the people that were, homeless because the floods had washed away their houses. It's really very fascinating. All right, we have more here from the Hannity interview of Trump last night. By the way, if Sean Hannity can get an interview with Donald J. Trump in the Oval Office, I think I'm going to try and get one. What do you think? Now, I've interviewed Trump 3 or 4 times. Not in great extent, not actually a couple in person, but they were very, very brief, and then a much longer interview over the phone. But I haven't had, the video camera long form interview. Now, our friend John Fredericks of the John Fredericks Radio Network interviewed Trump the first time back in April of 2015. He's interviewed him like 70 times. John will get more interviews with Donald Trump, but I think I'm going to angle for that Oval Office interview. We'll bring our camera team, our producer Patrick. You're going to come with us, right? You'll come in the Oval Office. Did you see, by the way, that Speaker of the House Mike Johnson did a video of J.D. Vance going for the first time, seeing the Oval Office? Well, Patrick, will you be our camera guy for that when we go in and we do? Because I've never been into the Oval Office, right? And it will be fun. And the way Trump is, I think we might get it. Because the way Trump is, he likes as many outlets as possible. All right, let's go more on the Hannity interview with Trump. Clip 4.
I went through 4 years of hell by this scum that we had to deal with. I went through 4 years of hell. I spent millions of dollars in legal fees, and I won. But I did it the hard way. It's really hard to say that they shouldn't have to go through it also. It is very hard to say that.
Yeah. What's that mean? It's Trump being Trump. He's kind of throwing stuff out there. He's not saying we're going to do X, Y, or Z. We're not saying we're going to prosecute Biden, but, we'll have a little bit more here. Let's go with this one, clip 7, before we finish this segment.
This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him.
It did all have to do with him. And look, if you look at the money, we gave all his family members, his siblings, and their spouses pardons like 5 minutes before he was leaving office. He gave his son a pardon going way back to 2014. I think all of these went back to 2014. Why? Because it was the Biden crime family money machine. Look, how much money did Joe Biden get from this? There's all sorts of evidence of the money changing hands. Is Trump saying the Department of Justice will prosecute Biden? No, I don't think so. I think he's going to be delighted as the House and the Senate bring in all the Biden family members who can't take the fifth because they got a pardon. What might they reveal? That's not the main theme, but going forward, it'll be kind of interesting. When we come back, hey, Tim Burchett, taking it to CNN. You've heard this, but if you haven't, stick around. Back after this.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of The Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. Hey, love to hear from you. Our number, 615-649-8477, 615-649-8477. You can also reach me on X, formerly Twitter. I'm Michael P. Leahy. I guess I got up to like 32,000 followers yesterday. It's kind of good. And, of course, it's kind of fun now. We've got, 4 hours of John Fredericks in the morning, followed by 3 hours of yours truly. And I think next week we're going to be launching this this video network with Roku and Fire Stick and Apple. And I don't know, just go down the list. And so that's going to be an awful lot of fun. 615-649-8477 if you want to weigh in. We want to go ahead right now. I promise you, Jim Acosta of CNN and Tim Burchett. And now the contrast between these two is just dramatic. The most officious, overbearing, arrogant, condescending person in all of media. It's hard to, that's quite a statement about Jim Acosta. But if you just watch him in this clip, even listen to him, beyond condescending. But Tim Burchett, our favorite good old boy from East Tennessee, just took him down a notch. So here we go. Here's Jim Acosta and Tim Burchett from just yesterday, I believe. Here we go.
Is covered on CNN. What you're saying, this is not Fox, Congressman. You can't just spin a tail and pull the wool over people's eyes. Yeah. This is CNN. This is the news.
Okay, can we hold on? So they're talking about pardons, right? And the just overbearing jerk that Jim Acosta. This is not Fox News where you can get away with stuff. This is CNN. We're real news. No, you're not real news. You are overbearing Democrat hacks. Oh, and by the way, Big Jim, two things for you. You guys lied and defamed Zach Young, the guy who went in and rescued folks from Afghanistan, and you misrepresented it. And a jury in Florida found you that liable for defamation, CNN, $5 million. And while the jury was considering punitive damages, your bosses at CNN were so worried that it would be like, $1 billion. They settled in less than 24 hours. How much was that for? I don't know. No reports. It was over $100 million, I would guess. Maybe 200. That's a lot of dough, basically, for defaming somebody. Okay, so Mr. I'm bigger than you, Jim Acosta. Oh, I got to add this about Acosta. They're going to move him to the midnight shift. And by the way, nobody's watching CNN. Oh, I forgot to mention. They're laying off today 1,000 people at CNN because nobody's watching them. They're watching the Michael Patrick Leahy show. They're watching the John Fredericks show. That's what they're watching. All right, let's continue. And this takedown by Burchett is fabulous.
We're asking you to come on and tell the truth.
And that's why more people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now, Jim.
Boom! SpongeBob. Hey, look, they're watching SpongeBob reruns on the Cartoon Network instead of Jim Acosta. What's it going to be like when they move him to midnight? Look, they're only moving him to midnight because if they fire him, they still got to pay him whatever his multi-million-dollar salary is. So there you go. I just have to brighten your day with this kind of stuff. 615-649-8477. 615-649-8477. All right, I want to go back to the Hannity interview with Donald Trump in the Oval Office yesterday. You'll see it again tonight. It aired on Fox last night during the Hannity show, and he's going to do another hour tonight. This was fascinating about the JFK files. Here we go. Let's hear this.
It was an eighth of an inch. The entire ride was an eighth of an inch.
Will you investigate these assassination attempts? And you stated that you will release the files, all of the files, as it relates to the JFK assassination. And by the way, this is his desk.
Yeah, that's right.
This is where John Kennedy, little John Kennedy.
It's a movable door.
Yeah.
It's a little door there. That's where John was.
John, yeah. And RFK, and also Martin Luther King Jr., and that you will be transparent. This was going to happen in the first
So many
term.
people have asked me to do that. And I did it with Kennedy to an extent, but I was asked by some of our government officials not to. And, you have to respect them. I was actually asked by Mike Pompeo, who was Secretary of State, not to. And I felt he knew something that maybe, when he asks you not to, you sort of say, why? And he felt that it was just not a good time to release him. And you might ask him why. Maybe he'll deny that even. But he did. He asked me. And some others also, though. They didn't want the Kennedy stuff released. And they're professionals, and I respect them. And they're working for me and the country. They're working for the country. And so I didn't release. But I'm going to release them immediately upon getting. We're going to see the information. We're looking at it right now.
Okay, that's going to be very significant. And look, ironically, of course, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nephew of John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated in 1963, and then his own father, Robert F. Kennedy, was assassinated in 1968. We have a call from David in Virginia who wants to weigh in this morning. Good morning, David.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm delighted to have you call. What part of Virginia do you live in, David?
I am in near Richmond via Frewsburg, New York. I think you know where that is.
Oh, yes, of course. We've talked before, David. And Frewsburg, New York is a wonderful little town, not too far from where I went to high school, Randolph.
Not as good as Randolph, but,
yeah.
It's okay.
we used to play you guys in baseball.
True.
And you were a little smaller than we didn't play in football when I was there, but it's a wonderful little town just south of Jamestown, New York. What's on your mind today, David?
I was thinking about Trump's approach toward Ukraine, and I would like your opinion about this. I think he needs to sit down with Putin and Zelensky, and first thing he needs to apologize for the tens of thousands of boys that were killed, because it was all basically bribery from the Biden crime family.
Well, so that's interesting because, this was the kind of thing that he was asking about in that perfect phone call with the Ukrainian officials that the Democrats used as an excuse to impeach him, right? And
exactly.
Look, if you go back, I think you're absolutely on point here, David, because if you look at 2014, again, the date, January of 2014 was the date that the pardon for all of Hunter's activities began. And for all of the siblings of Joe Biden, and at that time, Joe Biden probably didn't think he was going to, he knew he was not going to be running for president in 2016. Yeah, he wanted to make money. So Hunter Biden then goes on the board of Burisma, and right around that time, the United States government, according to reports, was involved in the changing over of the Ukrainian government. That's point number one.
Overthrew the government, the CIA did. Yep.
Yeah. Then, of course, the Biden maladministration, after years and years and years of Vladimir Putin saying Ukraine should not ever be part of NATO because we consider it sort of part of the Russian sphere of influence. And Trump made it clear that he didn't want Ukraine in NATO. But then, the Secretary Blinken goes over there and says, yeah, we're going to put Ukraine in NATO. And then right after is when the Russian invasion began. I think your point that the American government under the Democrats had a role in creating this fiasco over there is a very, very good point.
It started with gas, bribery with Little Hunter, and then it turned to weapons like Raytheon and so on. They were stirring the pot, and some of that was coming back to Biden. And, that's our big mess that we created.
Well, yeah, and now we're going to solve it, I think. And you saw that a couple things going on. Number one, Trump has said nice things about the Russian people and said he's worked with Putin in the past. But he said, look, if you don't settle this war in Ukraine, we may start putting tariffs on you, Russia. And meanwhile, Zelensky is going nuts saying, I want more troops there. We're not sending troops to Ukraine.
That ain't going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. David, thank you so much for listening to us. It's great to connect with a friend from where I grew up in upstate New York.
And I'm glad I'm not in Chautauqua County today.
It's cold. All right.
Very cold.
I know. Chautauqua County, right next to where I grew up in Cattaraugus County. All right, David.
Exactly. Well,
thank you. Thank you for your
one.
call.
Bye.
All right. Hey, when we come back, Tom Papper joins us on our Zoom Newsmaker line. Lots of news here in Nashville. The Antioch High School killings and Penny Schwinn, former commissioner of education. And we got a poll about Marsha Blackburn running for governor. Back after this.
My fellow Americans, I have to tell you about my good friends at D.T. McCall & Sons. They have furniture and appliances and a lot more. They've been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years, and they're not going to rip you off. No hidden charges, no delivery charges, no charges for all of the crazy things. These are sick people at the lumber yards. These are very sick people. They charge you for cords and hoses and haul off. They charge you for all of these things. They call them hidden charges. It's the type of surprise that you don't want to see. It's like an October surprise, but it's worse. D.T. McCall & Sons, they're not going to do that. They're great people. They're going to give you a great deal. With locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, D.T. McCall & Sons will give you the deal of your life. Check them out today or go to dtmccalls.com.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We are joined now on our Zoom Newsmaker line by our lead political reporter for the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network, Tom Pappert. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Michael.
A busy news day. We're going to have to keep you for two segments. In our first segment here, we want to talk about the Antioch High School, Metro Nashville Public Schools shooting yesterday at 11 o'clock. And then also what's going on with the Penny Schwinn nomination to be Deputy Secretary of Education. And in our final segment of this hour, let's talk about that new poll that shows Marsha Blackburn, the Senator Marsha Blackburn, way in the lead for the potential nomination to run for governor in the GOP primary in 2026. Okay, let's get to the shooting. Tell me what the details are of what happened yesterday at Antioch High School in Nashville, Tennessee, a public high school.
Well, yesterday morning, this is in the Nashville area at Antioch High School, a shooting was reported. Police have said the shooter's name was Solomon Henderson. He was 17 years old, African-American. He killed one person with his gun. Two more people were injured, one by gunfire, one, they're not sure how he was injured, might have been trampled, hit their head, something along those lines. A manifesto was almost immediately found in this case online on social media profiles that are believed to be associated with the shooter, revealing he was apparently motivated by some sort of anti-Semitic racist ideology that involved political pundits on both sides of the political spectrum. So it's a very odd and interesting case. There's reports of a 280-page manifesto being out there. We've asked Metro Nashville Police Department if they're going to release this and for a copy of it. We've also received reports, Michael, that this school, Antioch High School, at one point within the last 4 or 5 years, had metal detectors equipped at its entrances, but that these were apparently removed. We've asked both Don Aaron at the Metro Nashville Police Department and the superintendent of schools at Metro Nashville Public Schools to confirm this or deny this. We've yet to receive a clear response, except we do know that the superintendent, Dr. Adrienne Battle, said, while past research has shown they have had limitations and unintended consequences, we will continue to explore emerging technologies and strategies to strengthen school safety. So not a very clear statement made yesterday at a press conference by the superintendent, and nothing directly to the Tennessee Star.
Intentionally vague and deceptive is how I would describe it, right? Because, look, we have multiple sources that have said the following about safety at Antioch High School. Apparently, they had 2 school resource officers, 2,100 kids there, I think. It's like a huge high school, huge from what I read. And 2 SROs there, that's not a lot. And they were not at the cafeteria where this shooting took place. Also, we know, Tom, that the victim was a 16-year-old Hispanic girl. We also are hearing reports from the police that they are unable to find a connection between the shooter, 17-year-old Solomon Henderson, and the deceased victim. And we also have some reports from this manifesto, which has not been authenticated, which said Solomon Henderson wanted to kill at least 10 kids that day, but he wanted to speed. He was going to do it today, but for some reason wanted to speed it up. Now, these are all bizarre circumstances, and particularly bizarre is the way Adrian Battle, the superintendent of schools, answered that key question. Now, to me, you want to know how this kid, who apparently, according to reports, got on the bus Wednesday morning, did not have a pistol in his possession at that time, but had stored a pistol, they say, in the bathroom. Right? Is that what you've got as well, Tom?
That's what I've read, yes. And again, the question becomes, what was going on with the security at this school? You can look up in Tennessee, they put up report cards for the schools. This is a school that, let's say, has some challenges and some struggles. I don't think this is the first incident of violence at the school either. Now, granted, I don't think there's ever been anything this tragic, but again, were there metal detectors? If they were removed, why? And I would also like to know, not to blame these school resource officers. I'm sure they did everything they could with 22,000 some students, but why were they nowhere near the cafeteria during what was apparently lunchtime? These are very, very strange circumstances.
Yeah, and also, why were there only 2 school resource officers for a big high school with, a very troubled past? 2,100 kids. That's an awful lot. The demographics of this high school, I think, were like 50% Hispanic, 45% Black, and 5% other. And that part of town is a rough part of town. I think everybody would acknowledge that to be the case. But what's interesting about this, in Nashville, you've got a 9-member school board. And, they're all left-wing lunatics. And Adrian Battle, who is the superintendent of schools, is a disaster as well, a left-wing lunatic. They've got the ideology, right, that's lacking in common sense. The report that we have is that the school district got some funds from COVID from the federal government in 2020 and used those funds to have metal detectors at the school. And then at some intervening point, they chose to remove those metal detectors. And we've heard reports that some have said, well, because of unintended consequences. To me, Tom, a troubled high school in today's world, you must have, at a minimum, metal detectors to detect guns and more sophisticated protection techniques and systems, as well as, probably a dozen school resource officers, if not more. Why do you think Adrian Battle has not responded to our request for comment? When were the metal detectors put up? When were they taken down? Why were they taken down? What's your thought on that, Tom?
Well, without knowing her motivations, I will say that last night I did a couple searches for, pretending to be a good Democrat, like Eric Adams was asked to, if you watch Tucker Carlson. I Googled, are metal detectors racist? And there is a significant strain of sort of left-wing anti-police, defund the police thought that having metal detectors and even having school resource officers at public schools is racist because for whatever reason, African-American people tend to be disproportionately affected by metal detectors picking up prohibited items and by school resource officers making arrests on campus. And so I think it is entirely possible that this 9-member radical left-wing school board you just described could have taken this point of view. And maybe that is why we're not getting a response, because maybe this could have been prevented had they not decided that metal detectors are racist.
The other thing that's kind of bizarre here is and of course, as you know, March 27th, 2023, when 28-year-old Audrey Elizabeth Hale, who self-identified as a transgender male, walked into her old elementary school, a private Christian school here, and killed 3 9-year-olds and 3 staff members, left behind a manifesto, a series of writings, that were discovered, part of it in her car, but also subsequently at her house. That manifesto, which is about 1,000 pages, we got like 90 pages of the last 3 months. We've been litigating with Metro Nashville Police Department in state court, in federal court against the FBI to get all those 1,000 pages. And we've been in litigation since May of 2023, more than a year and a half. And we lost in Chancery Court. It's going to be appealed in state court. The federal judge has been looking at these documents since May. Don't know when that's going to happen. We're probably going to get that manifesto released as soon as Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are confirmed as the head of the Department of Justice and the FBI, respectively, right? But here now is, on the afternoon, within hours of this particular shooting, purportedly a 280-page manifesto, which I think he put up differently. He put up, instead of leaving it in his vehicle, he put it online, purportedly, is now out there. And some people have it. Some people are reporting on it, even though it's not been authenticated by the police. This seems to be, this situation seemed to be treated totally differently by not only the local media, but possibly Metro Nashville Police Department. Your thoughts on that, Tom Peppert?
It is very odd, and part of me wonders, in the past, social media companies used to purge anytime there was a killer. They would remove their profiles and sort of hand over all the data to police. But this time around, and a couple recent instances now, we saw this recently in another one, the killer has instead been allowed to leave their manifesto online. And it is very suspicious to me, Michael, that these manifestos that we're able to read seem to be politically damaging to conservatives, or at least damaging to both sides. Whereas the 90-some pages we got from Audrey Elizabeth Hale, in my opinion, squarely lay the blame on modern transgender treatments and prove that conservatives are right in their criticism. So I think it is very odd that we're getting one, and we're getting virtually the entire smorgasbord of information within 6 hours of the attack, while in the other one, as you said, in court for 18 months.
Now, the other part about this is what we don't know, and we need to investigate, is does this killer, 17-year-old Solomon Henderson, who's now dead, did he have any record of mental health issues? Was he under any treatment of any psychotropic drugs, for instance? These are all questions that we want to know. You've been asking these questions of Don Aaron. And by the way, let's say this about Don Aaron, Metro Nashville Police Department. He always responds to us in a timely manner. Now, he may not give us anything, but he always responds. What's the next? We got about a minute in this segment, Tom, and then we'll go to the gubernatorial poll after the break. What's next for you on this one? 30 seconds.
Well, I think I want to know exactly what this student's history was. If, as you said, they've been speaking with guidance counselors, if they were part of any mental health arrangements, I think this is all information that should be released, and it shouldn't be controversial to release it to us.
I'm with you on that one. We'll see. Hey, when we come back, a new poll just came out, and you've got a breaking story about Marsha Blackburn's possible run for governor here in Tennessee. Back after this with Tom Peppert.
Hey, I'm Governor Bill Lee, and I want to talk to you about an important education bill in Tennessee. Everyone knows that education has the power to change the trajectory of a child's life forever. And anyone who's raised a child knows that each one's different in their educational needs, and their learning styles, and their talents. The fact is, parents know their own children best. They know what's best for their education and their future. That's why I'm here to talk to you about Tennessee's Education Freedom Act. It empowers parents across our state to use their tax dollars to choose the school that allows their child to thrive, regardless of zip code or income, all while making significant investments in Tennessee's public education. If you want to learn how you can help make the Education Freedom Act a reality in Tennessee, go to educationfreedomact.com and write or call your state representatives. It's educationfreedomact.com.
This ad is paid for by Job Creators Network.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. A busy day on our Zoom Newsmaker line right now. Lead political reporter at the Tennessee Star, our very good friend, Tom Pappert. Tom, so breaking story. We received today a copy of a poll conducted by Tony Fabrizio and David Lee, who are the pollsters for President Donald Trump. Tell us what the poll said and what was it about.
The poll was about the Tennessee gubernatorial election that will take place next year. Governor Bill Lee is term limited, and his final term will conclude in 2026. Senator Marsha Blackburn, who just won her re-election in commanding fashion, is the runaway favorite. She has 82% approval ratings in Tennessee, 84% job approval ratings, but even more importantly, in a primary against Representative John Rose, who said last April that he's interested in joining the race, Marsha Blackburn would receive 71% of the vote compared to 13% who would vote for Rose. If President Trump were to endorse her, that would increase her lead even higher. She would win 78% of the vote to Rose's 11%. So nothing against poor John Rose, but I think Marsha Blackburn, who has confirmed, I think it was last week, that she's interested in being Tennessee's next governor, it sounds like if she enters the race, she will have the Republican nomination tied up in no time.
Well, it's interesting to see all the machinations here kind of behind the scenes in this. Clearly, I think Marsha Blackburn, senator, elected first back in 2018 and then easily reelected here in 2024. Marsha, I think, may be looking at what Senator Mike Braun, former Senator Mike Braun of Indiana, has done. He said, you know, this Senate thing is great, but I'm an executive. I want to get things done. And so he left the Senate, ran for governor of Indiana, and won. He's currently the governor of Indiana. So I think that may be something that could possibly be influencing Senator Blackburn. She's been, I think, clear that she's considering it. We don't know if she's going to make a formal announcement, but this has all the earmarks of, can we say it, clearing the field?
I think you're right about that. In fact, it was just last week that Glenn Jacobs said in 2 or 3 different remarks that he will not join the governor's race. That's, of course, the very popular mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, Kane from WWE fame. He said he will not enter the race if Marsha Blackburn should decide to run for governor. And then a couple days later, he said she has my endorsement if she enters the race. So I think that when it comes to sort of the MAGA populist aligned wing of the Republican Party, it's just going to be Marsha.
For our listeners, tell them a little bit about Congressman John Rose.
Well, John Rose, again, perfectly nice guy and not really any problems with him, but he represents sort of the more moderate, classical Republican wing of the party. He's not necessarily going to be a guy who's famous for supporting President Donald Trump. And if you read at the Tennessee Star, I'm not trying to make enemies, but there have been several times just in my tenure over the past 2 years or so that he's sort of bucked Republican orthodoxy and either taken the sort of, again, moderate Republican or even sided with the Democrats occasionally on on the odd issue. So this is, I think it's fair to say, somebody that would probably receive a lot of donor support, somebody that would receive a lot of institutional support, but not somebody that President Trump would love the idea of coming to campaign for.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'd receive a lot of donor support. I think John Rosa is wealthy in his own right, but he's never been accused of having it much in the way of charisma. How about that?
I think that's a nice way to put it.
So, but there are others that are looking at the possible gubernatorial race. Damon Henninger, who's the head of CoreCivic, which operates private prisons here in Tennessee and other places. They've had all sorts of difficulties. I heard Henninger give a speech, and he's another guy who looks in the mirror and sees a future governor. But he's pretty tone deaf. He went to a Republican event, and after the passing of Don Sundquist, the former governor, the one who lied to the voters of Tennessee and said, "I'll never, over my dead body will I have a state income tax." And then after he got reelected to second term, he introduced a state income tax, which, by the way, Marsha Blackburn, May Beavers, Diane Black, were the key legislators there at that time, which, the legislature was controlled by Democrats back in 2000. They stopped the income tax with all the horn honking that went on around there. But tone deaf because he effusively praised Don Sundquist as being, a great conservative. And everybody that I was with in that Republican event was looking around and said, where's this guy been? Has he missed the last 20 years? I think he's going to get in. He's going to spend a lot of money, but, let's just say he'd be a more effective use of his cash would be to take it and put it in a trash barrel here in Nashville today, burn it, and heat people up. That would be more effective, in my view. Tom Pepper.
I think you may be right about that. I have nothing wrong with private prisons or CoreCivic. I don't put a lot of stock into the Democratic complaints about the company. However, we know that Marsha Blackburn just won. I think she won like 75% of the vote against Gloria Johnson a couple weeks ago in November. Yeah. We know this is a guaranteed winner, whereas CoreCivic, I'm sorry, you're bringing a lot of baggage and you don't seem to know the Republican Party of Tennessee very well.
Tom Pepper,
it's just not going to work.
Thanks for your great reporting. We can't wait to see what else happens today in Tennessee. Thanks for joining us today, Sean.
Thank you, Michael. Anytime.
All right, after the news, we'll be back with more. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.